Hey everyone, so I am here today for a very different type of video than I have done in the past. This is in response to probably a good portion of my latest big surge of subscribers have been people who were attracted to my Laurel Run hike because I live in the area. I'm maybe 20 minutes from Laurel Run. The whole Kingsport community is my backyard. The Rogersville community isn't far from there. I've been hiking in that area and the whole surrounding area for a long time now. I know it well. There was a case a couple years ago of a missing girl. Her name was Summer Wells, and it attracted a lot of attention, unfortunately a lot of national and international attention. Since then it's exploded into what usually happens with unsolved cases or just unknown mysteries. You've got, when something goes international, you've got a lot of people latching onto the story. I mean, it was on Dr. Phil. The parents of Summer were interviewed. So international awareness brings a lot of loonies and drama. Of course, online social media personalities start weighing in, giving their input, and when that happens, you end up with a lot of misinformation, a lot of bad information put out there, sometimes not at the fault of the people that are putting it out there. Sometimes it's out of greed. They want subscribers. A little bit about myself, just so you know, my background. Years ago, and I left this in my distant past, I'll tell you why. In my 30s, I was a conspiracy theory debunker, the opposite of a conspiracy theorist. I spent a lot of my time diving into conspiracy theories. In cases like this, a lot of times in just paranormal, weird claims people were making, and I would take a case like that, a mystery, and start looking at scientifically proven variables at the beginning of the mystery, and follow the trail that each provable fact, supported with evidence, led, and tried to use that trail to debunk a lot of the misdirection, misinformation that people were putting out there on those stories. I have not done this with missing persons cases just because my focus was honestly non-personal mysteries. I didn't like conspiracy theories around real people, missing people, because most of the time the story was very depressing, very emotionally taxing, because 9 times out of 10 the person literally was either abducted or ended up being discovered. I really didn't want to end up having to find a body, or trying to track down an abduction is nearly impossible. So my focus was not usually that kind of story. It was usually just really someone claimed that they were abducted by aliens, or that there's a government conspiracy on a certain location, and around whatever the claims were, I would prove what the location really was all about and just try to debunk these things. Sometimes I discovered, some parts of claims were true. All that to say, what I discovered in the process of doing that for about 10 years is that it's a lost cause. People who choose to believe something, who choose to believe a conspiracy theory, will ignore evidence. It's called confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, whatever you want to call it. It's a part of human nature, part of human psychology, to ignore hard evidence when they've chosen to believe something. So I gave it up. I stopped doing it. It was tiring. It was exhausting. It was pointless because I wasn't accomplishing anything other than doing the core mission I wanted to do back then, which was focus on the truth. my core belief system, my core values are truth, justice, which sounds like, kind of like a superhero tagline, but it truly was why I was doing what I was doing. I believe strongly in the truth, regardless of the outcome. I think truth is always the correct path. And was I revealing the truth back then? Yes. Did it change people's minds? No. Most people. I think some people maybe, but it was not. I felt like it was. I had a young family. I felt like I had to focus my time on more productive things that I could make a better impact on the world. So, I focused on taking care of my family more, being with my family more, and focusing on my work. So, fast forward many years, I'm much older, much wiser. I like to think so anyway. Started doing the hiking videos really out of compassion for my brother who's disabled, to show him places in the world that he can't get to, can't see himself. So I really wanted to show him these things, and my hiking videos have taken me to some of the most beautiful places in eastern Tennessee, in Virginia, and North Carolina. I love what I do, and I love sharing the beauty of these areas with my viewers. I don't care if I have 1 viewer or 112 viewers, which I have now, up from like 85 in the past week. And I don't care if that goes up to like a lot of these conspiracy theorist channels, because conspiracy theories are popular. People like drama. They like to believe wild stories. And it's just it's entertainment for people, which is unfortunate in a case like this, because a missing child is not a form of entertainment. To this case, my attention was first brought to it when I had all of these comments on my video. Comments from very nice people, very well-meaning people who just really care about this young girl and want her to be safe and brought home. Let's just say they want her to be safe. They want to know that she's safe and that she's okay. As I started digging into it, I saw the claims many people were making about Laurel Run being a potential point of interest, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. And so, of course, using my past approach, I don't do things just out of belief. I do things out of, I base my actions on evidence and truth. And so I started looking to see where those claims were coming from, and I found myself neck deep in the drama and the conspiracy theories. Someone close to the family. I don't want to get into the specific details because I don't want to spread the drama, but there was a claim by someone in jail close to the family that it was an area of interest. That's it. No other evidence, nothing else to support it, just this guy's claim. I still have that in me to debunk conspiracy theories. I felt like this was a conspiracy theory that people were believing. So I started looking more into the story of Summer Wells, and most people who look into the story of Summer Wells, they will find a whole lot of stuff on YouTube. A lot of people making claims, a lot of conspiracies, a lot of theories around what they think happened. I reviewed way too many videos on YouTube, and 90% of the claims were backed by nothing. Ridiculous evidence. It wasn't evidence. Nothing could support most of the claims. So I took a step back, got off YouTube, went to the news media, and started looking at the details around the original reports from the media when this all happened. I started looking at the personalities, people that were commenting, the events before and after, way too many interviews with the parents. I don't think that Summer Wells is dead. I don't think she is anywhere, buried anywhere. I don't think she's in a cave anywhere. Don't think she's in a well or dropped in a hole where there's water. Based on the facts from the beginning of the case, I'll give you my thoughts, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do about this, if anything. I think there was a sweet little girl who was in a family, in a community that cared deeply about her. And when I say community, you have to understand. Now, I moved here years ago. I've become integrated with the East Tennessee community. There are things, if you're not from this community, you will not understand about this case. And I have to choose my words carefully because I respect the community around here. I respect the police. I respect the culture. And I don't want to offend anyone or say anything against this area. I think it's a beautiful place with extremely nice people who are well-meaning, and always have the best, usually have the best intentions, what they believe are the best intentions. And so in this case, you had a community. A community in this area includes not so much neighborhood, although that's a big part of it. It's a family feel in neighborhoods around here. It's one of the last, I think, refuges in this country where if you live in a community, it feels like family. But community here is even more so the church community that you're part of. The church community, when people believe down here, when people are religious down here, it's unlike most places where that belief system is they go to church on Sunday, they believe what they believe, they practice what they believe, but it's their lives are sort of almost separate, although their belief system in other places are integrated with their lives. The South, at least in Tennessee, at least in East Tennessee, is that magnified by 100. Life here is your belief system. Your church community is your family. When someone gets hurt, goes to the hospital, has a heart attack, has cancer, whatever it is, this church community that you're part of comes to your rescue, brings you support, helps your family with meals, with money if your family needs it, childcare, whatever it takes. That church community is your family, and they take care of you. That does happen in other parts of the country, I know that, but it is embedded into the culture down here in East Tennessee. So you've got a young girl who lives in a poorer part of Rogersville. I mean, a lot of entire towns down here are poor, and there's no negative connotation to that. Just people don't have a lot of opportunities here, a lot of work, so there's not a lot of money in a lot of these towns, and so you find a lot of people living, backwoods, rural areas, just living off what they have. A lot of times gardening or living off the land, fishing, hunting. There's nothing wrong with that. I grew up in that kind of environment, so sometimes when you can't buy food, you have to get your food, so there's nothing wrong with that. But this community, this particular area, as everyone knows who's followed this case, is a drug haven. It's a meth community. There obviously are multiple meth dealers. There was traffic in that area near where this little girl lived. Obviously, if you're in a community who cares about that family, especially about that little girl, what would you do? What would you do if you knew she was living somewhere that was dangerous for a little kid to live in? A sweet little girl who you never know what could happen. You don't know what kind of people are going in and out of that particular road. If you're in this type of community, this type of church and community, this type of church family, you would, in the deepest core of your being, you would want to do something to help this family. And I don't want to generate a new conspiracy theory. Actually, this isn't new. There are people out here who believe this as well, at least parts of this. But there isn't a lot of the paths of truth, and the moment Summer's tracks ended at the road and the vehicle that supposedly she was put in drove away. The police claim there was no abduction, but remember, and I hate to say this because this is totally conspiracy level thinking, but this is based on the truth that I know about this community and about this area. Things I've seen with my own eyes. This is evidence I've seen with my own eyes, is members of law enforcement emergency services are part of the church community. They would also want the best interests of this little girl. So a lot of things the police said that didn't make sense kind of clicked in my head. Could be related to that, but the FBI is involved, and I know the FBI would not entertain community interference using some kind of illegal activity, to even if it was for a positive benefit, for something good. So that has me a little concerned, but maybe the FBI is tight-lipped. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I just know that the evidence is her trail started and ended at a certain spot. That's what was revealed in the media. That's a fact everybody knows. The other fact is that there's a neighbor that said there was a scream. I saw multiple interviews with her, and she is adamant about it. I tend to believe her. But the events of that day, there's things that don't fit, that lend toward planning and other people's involvement. The hair thing is weird. Cutting her hair that short didn't make any sense to me when I first started looking at this. I'm like, well, that's weird. I mean, they just, whatever, people do weird things, and shaved her head, until I took a step back from YouTube, started reading the news accounts, and seeing kind of the trend, the pattern toward some planning, and particularly maybe even a group planning something. Part of planning can be trying to disguise this little girl, so she can't be recognized later. And that rings true to me in this case. The reason I'm hesitating and the reason I'm struggling with this is because I believe if a group of this community decided to do something, they believe they were doing it and currently continue to do it in the best interests of this little girl, to keep her safe, to keep her protected. And it's a gray area of the law. If you're a churchgoer, if you are a faithful believer in God's law, are you willing to potentially break the law, even though you maybe never would in your life, for a greater good? I believe a lot of people here would. Not saying they did, but I'm saying it's more likely in a community like this that they would. And there were comments made in the media more recently when events happened. I always look for Freudian slips. I look for certain words used, and sometimes there were cases where certain people in the community made a comment that it makes you raise your eyebrows, but you can't read into words people say. People sometimes off the fly say certain things, but certain things line up in a certain direction, and this pattern of weird observations. So these patterns, facial expressions in an environment that is atypical, just not normal for that event that's happening by certain people, or raised alarm bells. Some people appearing a little positive, more positive. When you watch enough of these events after a kidnapping, after an abduction, it's sadness, crying, serious emotion, negative emotion around it, fear and anxiety. Some things didn't fit with some people. Comments made following some family events that hit the news were off. They didn't fit the situation, and it made me again raise alarm bells. And so the evidence doesn't lead in the woods. It doesn't lead in Laurel Run. I know there are people close to the family who have said this. I believe there's a lot of misdirection, intentional misdirection, for the sake of leading people on the wrong path, away from where this little girl actually is. I don't think she's in danger. I don't think that she is being hurt. I think she's with people who believe they're acting in her best interests. That's what I believe. So should I go out there and search some of the areas that I know likely have caves. It would be pointless. I think the people that know where she is would love it if a bunch of people spent hours in the woods looking for something that's not there. So should I do that for the sake of the subscribers who have recently come to me and have been asking, you know, do I know areas where she could be? If I saw evidence that pointed there, I would definitely invest my time in looking and spending a lot more time hiking that area and just checking things out. I don't believe the evidence points in that direction. Can I do anything about if this other direction that the evidence leads is true? People wouldn't talk to me. I'm not a mainstream reporter. I'm not a law enforcement, so talking to people is much more difficult. Getting the truth about where she is, I know she doesn't look like she did. The picture that they put out is kind of ridiculous because most likely she doesn't look like that. Most likely she has been disguised probably as a boy and could be hidden in plain sight, or she could have been taken outside the community. Who knows? That would take a long time to investigate, a lot of resources. I have a lot of respect for local law enforcement. There's the element there that they also love their community and believe in doing the right thing as well. They're part of the church community, which wants to do the right thing. So I would put my faith in the FBI to do the right thing, however hard that is. I think solving this case is one of those weird gray areas that it may not be a positive. They did take the boys out of the family home, so maybe not as bad of a situation, but I think the people that have her see her as their own child at this point and are taking good care of her, I believe. And it's hard to want to, in this situation, it's hard to want to break that. I can understand if there are particular people in the local community who are leaders, who are helping to support this effort because they're part of the community to protect this little girl. I am not going to cast blame because it's one of those gray areas of right and wrong, and everybody would have a different opinion. So I haven't decided. I love that area. I love Laurel Run. I would actually like to do videos of some of the hidden caves there, but it would honestly be to show the beauty of that area and the caves. There's nothing there. I can almost guarantee it that she's nowhere in that area. Alright, my camera died on me because it was too hot. What I was saying was, I don't know if the misdirection is intentional or unintentional. I'm not going to say that. I just know where truth is, and truth is what evidence the police have revealed already. It does not point in the direction of Laurel Run. The evidence, based on what exists in the news reports, it does point in a different direction. It points in the direction of Summer being okay, being alive, being hidden, but not for bad purposes, I don't believe. I may probably visit Laurel Run again, only to make nature videos. I am curious to see some of the caves that I think I've identified on the topographical maps, and nearby the different waterfalls are beautiful. It's a nice area with a lot of cliffs. So I might explore it, but honestly not for the intention of this case. I'm going to leave this case to the authorities. I would say to the community members who may be hiding this little girl, I believe what you're doing is with the best intentions at heart. I believe that you believe you're doing the right thing for this little girl. Unfortunately, sometimes what may feel like the right thing to do is not. The truth eventually comes out. It always does. And when the truth comes out, you have still broken the law. And unfortunately, good people will probably end up going to jail for a while for doing this, for organizing this, for collaborating, for supporting this plan. Would I have done it? It's hard to say. If the situation was bad enough for a little girl, it's hard to say that you wouldn't do something, that you wouldn't do something similar or try to help in some way. I'd like to believe I would try to help following the law, contacting the correct authorities, not taking the law into my own hands. There may have been some personal benefit. Maybe having this child in your life is something that honestly drove you more than the moral decision. If that's the case, I feel bad for you because you're going to end up paying consequences for for a decision you've made that was driven by partially a personal need. But I believe you're a good person, and I feel bad about good people having to face consequences for making the wrong choice. I would recommend returning her. I would recommend, however hard it is, to let this little girl go out of your sight, out of your care. She will be put in a good place. She will be taken care of by the authorities at this point. You can see that in the actions they've taken already with the other children. I think you need to let her go. She will not be put back in a bad situation. I don't believe that. But what's happening right now, what I believe is happening right now, is a lot of people who are doing what they think is the right thing. But again, the truth comes out eventually, and the consequences that come after that are not going to be in your best interest. They will hopefully be in Summer's best interest. You may disagree with that, but that is the right thing. Following the law is the right thing to do. For all the people that are interested in getting to the truth of this case, stop watching conspiracy theory, real crime YouTube channels. I know they have a lot of subscribers. It's because it's great entertainment, but they are not. I mean, you've got a lot of armchair quarterbacks on YouTube posting from their trailer all of their pet theories. It's pathetic, to be honest. It's very poor taste. It's horrible for the community, and it's not. If you're interested in the truth, unsubscribe from those. Stop watching them. If you want the truth, look at the news reports, look at the facts, look at what the authorities are releasing. There are tidbits of truth throughout that. Obviously, not everything. Don't believe the FBI, what they release, or the TBI, what they release will have any part of any cover-up. You can get some facts out of that, albeit limited, but you can get information from that. You can get some truth from that. Probably not so much local law enforcement. I don't know if I would look to those statements as 100%, but definitely TBI. Again, so I hope my decision not to do an exhaustive search for some kind of body makes you unsubscribe. I will visit the area again purely to show the beauty of that area to my viewers. I love that park. I would love to go again, so I hope you stay for that. But I'm not sure how much more I'm going to say on this case. I will be watching it, and I hope that community members who are involved or have knowledge of this and think they're doing the right thing, I hope that they give that closer thought. I hope that they pray on it and truly listen and not follow their personal needs or their beliefs instead of what God guides you to do, what the right thing is truly to do here. I'm afraid you have not followed the right path. I think you know that deep down. I think all of you who are involved in that know that deep down. And I hope that you reconsider. Give this girl a more free and open life that she deserves. Even if it's not with you, it will be with people who also care about her and want to take care of her and have her best interests in mind. I think you can trust that now that the truth has come out about her situation. It's not your right, it's not your place, even though you may have felt that it was. Just do the right thing. I think that's all I have to say about the case at this point. Thank you for all the new subscribers. I'm probably not going to comment on this case again unless something new comes up. I just don't want to get sucked into more conspiracy theories and craziness and drama. Short of spending time in Laurel Run, probably soon, but not for this purpose. Honestly, just to get back out in nature and find, you know, cool areas that I haven't been in before in that park. That's what I do, that's what I love to do, and that's what I'll bring everyone. So if you were looking for more conspiracy theories, you've come to the wrong place. I don't do that, and I never plan on doing that. But I hope the people who do know where she is do the right thing. I really do. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time.